Well, let's get started. Well, um, I'll be the host from AxxonSoft today. I'm David Trio. I'm a sales engineer. Kristen?
Yeah, great to meet everyone. Even though I can't see everyone's shining faces, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be in the world. I'm Kristen Call. I'm with Intel, and I am the Senior Industry Advisor for Retail Banking, Hospitality, and Entertainment. Say that 10 times fast, and maybe I'll give you I'll buy you a drink. Turn it over to Chris.
Hi, everybody. This is Chris O'Malley from Intel, like Kristen. You know what? I got unaware. David has he's got killer clothes on right now, and he's got much better head of hair than I am. So I apologize for the second team here. Hopefully, I can make up there with what I say. Anyways, I'm on the business unit side at Intel. I manage all the marketing for consumer industries worldwide. The consumer industries I'm focused on is just what Kristen said: retail, hospitality, banking, and entertainment. So with that, I'll turn it over to the next person.
All right, we have a few more representatives here from AxxonSoft who are going to help answer any questions that we have in the chat. There may not be a microphone right now, but they're here to help. So some of you might not be familiar exactly with AxxonSoft and what we do, so I'll share a little bit about our company. Let me just share my screen real quick. We deal mainly in software. We're a VMS focused company. We do video surveillance. We have 32 offices around the world. We're a multinational company with over 600 employees. We've helped out 13,000 customers worldwide on over 500,000 different projects. And for over 25 years, we've been building up different technologies, different experiences, and we have over 30 patents, most of which are related to AI surveillance and analytics. So here's an overview of our offices. So what we're going to be focusing today is how these video analytics and how our video analytics software relates to the idea of a smart store, which is perhaps you're here and wondering, what is a smart store? So let's talk about that a little bit. A smart store is a store that integrates intelligent retail technologies to enable more personalized, safe, frictionless, and immersive shopping experiences. Using AI and analytics, these technologies learn customer behavior to enable real-time optimizations, gauge the success of promotional strategies, ensure products are in stock and on shelves, deliver more convenient and exciting ways for consumers to shop. A true retail transformation is enabled when all of these smart store solutions are connected and integrated, and the data and insights are combined to differentiate leading retailers from their competition. So you may be asking, what are the benefits of this? Well, the smart store itself is a foundation of retail transformation. It creates happier and more loyal customers and generates more traffic by enabling amazing and differentiated shopping experiences. For retailers, that means increased revenue. But smart store solutions can also improve operating efficiency by automating and streamlining many tasks, while enabling the staff of your store to be more productive and focus on customer assistance. So the main focus areas of this solution in terms of people are safety, security, and operational convenience. For the products, the focus areas are the alerts, recommendations, and inventory. So we'll focus our discussion on some of the main components of a smart store solution, VMS and hardware, to highlight how Intel's and AxxonSoft's joint solution for retail can make smart stores a reality even now. Our solution can monitor shop floors, assist shop owners with inventory monitoring, safety provisions, and monitor areas around the shop through license plate recognition and parking lot occupancy, all in our Axon One VMS video management software platform. So we're going to turn over to a roundtable discussion between everyone now. And the headline of our discussion is an AI-driven store, or that is to say, a smart store.
Got it. Kristen, you want to kick it off, and then I'll go after that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of use cases there, right? And I think one of the very important things is talking about using these types of platforms to bring in multitude of use cases, because lots of times these are things that are across different groups in a retail environment. And it takes a village sometimes to pull these things together. But the big part is just the return on investment. And we know that retailers are, thinking heavily about these kinds of things. An interesting statistic that I came across was Gartner said by 2020, over 50% of the startups will have some kind of an AI or powered technology and solution for customer success. So I think that speaks loudly of where we are in the marketplace today.
Yeah, the other thing I think, once you have cameras in a store or some sort of a retail environment, and once you hook that up to a compute node in some way, shape, or form, what you can do, it almost becomes unlimited. Most people think of digital surveillance as more like security. How do we prevent theft? How do we prevent shoplifting? But the reality is, as you saw in that video, the heat mapping, you can very quickly figure out, like, how are people moving around your store? Are there choke points? Do I need to redesign my store such that high value items are where they're going to have the choke point? Those different things. So you could really do that to drive the customer experience. You could also do safety, other safety things, physical safety of employees as far as trip and fall. There might be a box off a shelf that's, there might be a liquid poured on the floor that's going to cause people to fall. It could even be in the back office. Say you had a box that's covering a security door. That's a finable offense. You can set those up with flags. So once that compute is there, you can immediately do it. And it's not only external theft of like people shoplifting. It might be something like employee theft, which is a big problem. Say you have a point of sale you're running and somebody runs a no sale. No sale is automatic. Oh, that's a high potential fraud. Let me pull up the camera and see if there's actually somebody at the register when they click the no sale. Because if there's not, that's an indication that there might be some employee fraud. Not necessarily true, but it could be. So all of those things are there. And you're only limited by your imagination and some of the software that you're going to load in this. Once you start adding a compute and once you add video, we could probably sit here the entire hour and come up with use case after use case after use case. We have to limit that as opposed to coming up with use cases.
Yeah, David, any thoughts?
Absolutely. Those are, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because some of those use cases are exactly the kind of thing that we're able to do right now. It's not something that's in the future and we're thinking of doing. It's something that you can implement right now. I'm going to share my screen again and actually give a few examples of what we can do. Let's hope that I can do it right this time. All right. Here we are. Okay. I hope it's showing now.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, exactly. Many of the things that Chris just mentioned, queue management, pose detection, detecting certain objects, point of sale. So here's an example where we can do queue management. So here, a live example. If we want to detect like there's too many people in a certain line, and probably everyone has had this experience where they're at a grocery store and like there's just like a whole bunch of lines, like, oh, which one do I pick? Because they all have a bunch of people and maybe they don't have enough cashier registers open, and you're sitting there thinking, why haven't they opened more cashier registers? Well, this detection tool is able to count how many people are in the line, and it's not just a pure motion counter. It's detecting only the people that are in the line and distinguishing them from people that are walking to the sides and are not in the line. So it's counting the number of people in line, and when it crosses a certain threshold, you say, let's say there's more than 5 people in the line, you're able to send off an alert, and you can notify, say, the management of the store, let's open another cashier stand right away, and that you're able to react dynamically and to whatever is happening. Or we can do visitor interest heat mapping. Here's an example. We select a certain area of time, and then over the footage that we've recorded, say in a certain day, you can see a heat map of where people were the most. So if you're, for example, like a shop owner who perhaps you have a certain product that you want to show off and you want to make sure as many people as possible see it, you're able to see, okay, here's where people are crossing the most. Or maybe you're rearranging your floor layout and you're thinking, what are the areas that people are not visiting and not engaging with? And you're able to visualize that as well. You can see which areas are the most traversed. You can see areas which are the least traversed, and which areas people are spending the most time in, and optimize using that information. So those are just a few examples of the analytics. but we can also collect all of those and generate a report of visualizations of, say, what are the peak hours, when do we have the most visitors, and collect some demographics such as age and gender guesstimation. And Chris mentioned earlier that this can also be used to prevent losses. One of the, like you mentioned, one of the biggest sources of theft for stores is not actually from shoplifters, it's from employees not doing what they're supposed to. So exactly, that can be done with a point of sale transaction search. We can integrate our VMS with the cashier stand, and that information is searchable later. If you want to search for a certain item, you want to find here's when this particular brand of wine, for example, was scanned, you're able to search for it and then view the exact footage. Or you could search for here's a no sale or like a suspicious transaction amount. If you want to, if you see like in the records, okay, here's the exact amount, or like this item is, the stock doesn't match exactly what we have, you're able to find that very easily with the kind of technologies that we offer. And it's very easy to investigate potential fraud or breaches of security, and all this information it can be unified into one platform. You're not looking in a whole bunch of different places to find this sort of thing.
Yeah, what's interesting, David, and once you start to install these and start to look at the data, so even the example that you gave where you're looking at the queue detection, once you start counting people, you very quickly, if you're a retailer, you very quickly understand you can run how many people enter your store versus how many transactions, so you know your conversion rate. You're going to know the average length of time a person remains in a store. So if it's a minute 30 seconds from the time they enter to the time they transact, you may know if I've had 50 people enter the store in the last 5 minutes, you can actually open a new checkout lane before that line ever starts. So it's true frictionless. You even that out already. The other thing is that we mentioned the demographics detection. That's actually most important. You reference facial detection or facial recognition. For the most part, it's not facial recognition. It's audience detection. Male, female, age, gender, things like that are most important. Because say you have digital media, you may know like, okay, you know what, there's more women at this time. Let's tee up this type of advertisement or something like that. It's more suitable. Or this type of shopper, this is what's there. You can really manage your digital media based upon all of that information. So you just keep learning more and more of the stuff. The insights from that become huge. And admittedly, some of the stuff could be done by more employees, but everybody I talk to right now, every company, it's difficult to hire people and it's difficult to retain them. So if you can start to automate some of these people, the few people that you have in the store, you can make them work better. You can make their human touch really make a difference with all this dashboard information that they provide you.
Yeah, Chris, I think that's really important to separate the two different kinds of analytics, right? There's the analytics which means today's data is looked at to understand what you want to do tomorrow, and then and real-time analytics is where you want to queue up in real time to be able to do some actionable thing right then and there, right? So based on what you're saying with the labor challenges, perhaps that data is analyzed to say, well, maybe we should have more self-checkout lanes versus manned checkout lanes, right? And then with the loss prevention, the solution on top of that, we can help manage that potential shrinkage with either, I don't want to call my customers, thieves, but misscans, accidental, I didn't bring this up correctly, or I know the 4011 way better than I know what an apple is, so I use that one. So but helping our customers be better in the self-checkout lane, but that's tomorrow's analytics. And with the current analytics, maybe you want to remove them from that cashier lane and put them in lane to help with the customers. Maybe they want to understand about a product, wherever it might be. Maybe it's not in the grocery store space, but there's a lot of different ways to reallocate labor. I think retailers are looking at to do a couple of things, not just because of labor shortage, but actually just quality of the work that they're doing, and putting them in where it's most optimized for the business and good customer service, right? There's lots of ways to remove friction, not just with technology, but also with understanding where those people need to be to help customers out, stocking shelves, whatever it might be.
The other thing on a more practical matter, from these analytics, what it requires from a compute standpoint is that, the AxxonSoft solution gives you a lot of flexibility for that. So you can do this all in the cloud if you want, but you're going to send a lot of video. You can crop the video, how much you send out. You can choose just to send metadata. You could do a lot of the analytics at the edge as well, if that makes sense in your environment. But they utilize some technologies that allow the inferencing or the analytics at the edge to be really, really efficient. So you could do much of it there and don't send much to the cloud. You could do it out of the cloud. So it's really up to operator choice. What makes most sense for you, for your business, and you can you can turn that nozzle pretty easily as you want.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. One thing we have in the pipeline is our Axon VSaaS, that is to say, video surveillance as a service, build your own cloud solution. So this gives you a huge amount of flexibility in terms of how exactly you want to deploy this, in terms of, do you want to have everything on-prem and you have something that operates as if a cloud was, except you have all the servers yourself, or you're going to use some kind of externally hosted cloud service. You want to be running it on some server somewhere else, or if you want to have some kind of integration with Amazon AWS or Azure, Microsoft Azure for storage, because it's storage for lots of footage, that can take up a huge amount of space. So if you want to do that in the cloud, that's something that's going to very soon be possible as well. There's also, we also have a lot of support for edge analytics. So a lot of people have cameras that are running their own kind of detection. They're doing people tracking or person counting or some kind of line crossing detection or anything of that sort. Or they're doing their own edge storage. They're doing onboard storage. It's a camera with an SD card that's just recording it to itself. We have support for those things very seamlessly in our platform. So a lot of people ask, do you support this camera with this edge analytic? And the answer generally is, of course we do. Yeah, you don't have to rip out your whole existing system. If you have your existing AI cameras, you're not going to have to pull them out. They're going to integrate with the system. That information that they generate is going to feed perfectly into the VMS, and it's going to be easy to view in the centralized, single place with all the rest of the analytics that you're collecting. And when you run your analytics on the camera, on the edge analytic, that's a minimal CPU load for the server, almost as if you were running no analytic at all. It's just the extra overhead of we're getting this little bit of extra data. So that's one way to save on a server load, is through having edge analytics.
Yeah, the other thing that you referenced, David, that I think is important from a cost standpoint is, let's say you have a compatibility with a lot of different cameras. So, right now, a lot of stores already have some sort of a security camera installed. You could start running, you could just add that video stream to a compute and already start with some basic analytics without having to add cameras. Now, of course, you could keep adding cameras, and most people actually do because they found the value of the analytics worth it, and also because cameras are getting cheaper. But you can do that with a low investment up front, something as simple as people counting. Most people have some sort of a video there. You could immediately do people counting, and then with very minimal investment, you immediately know your conversion. That's something that's hard to do without compute. Conversion's difficult. Most people don't know their conversion rate, but you could know that pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Using existing infrastructure, using existing setups, absolutely possible, and very easy to do. Like you said, pretty much every grocery store has some kind of, or shop or and so forth, has some kind of camera system installed already. So it's not like you'd need specialized equipment or gear to get that set up. All you do is you are slotting in this software.
Yeah, another thing that I didn't want to skip over was the ability to do integrations and to having more of an open platform, right? So bringing in the different data points. I know you mentioned point of sale, and then we've also mentioned the different camera types, but all of those different, the ability to do integrations is extraordinarily important if you want to look at all the different metrics that you guys are doing, and having that one pane of glass. The last thing people need to want to do is go to multiple places to see this analytic and then go over here and see this other analytic. Yeah, this may be different business areas that are looking at the data, but having that one pane of glass and then being able to do those integrations with different data points is extraordinarily important. And whether or not it's AxxonSoft doing those integrations, or that, to me, that's where the system integrator can come in. Some of the values that Intel provides is that entire ecosystem of folks, just like AxxonSoft is bringing this amazing solution from an ISV perspective. but also just working with other partners to make these things happen are part of the Intel value as well. So sometimes people think, well, why is Intel here? We didn't, we support under the hood and then also the ecosystem. So it's worth mentioning.
Yeah, and it was as David referenced that one pane of glass thing it's a customizable view as well too. So you can kind of like put up top what's most important to you and then figure that out, but it's entirely customizable.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a huge degree of customization that you can do from just this single platform. There's of course different layouts that you can use. You can make your own, resize different camera views. One really cool feature that we have is I don't have a video of it right now, but you can view like a 3D map view of your floor plan of your building if you have a bitmap, and you can visualize exactly where the cameras are. So instead of having to scroll through a huge list of cameras and wondering, oh, where exactly is this one? You can see them visualized on this 3D map, and you can click on them to go into a 3D view and see them as if they were there. So it's all one centralized platform where you can view all of this, and you can even remotely connect to multiple stores. So if you have a central system that links all of your, let's say you run a chain of stores, if you have a central system that links all of their security teams in their headquarters, that really allows for greater efficiency and monitoring. Each location manages its own systems without relying on the others, but they can also be connected to a headquarters for a centralized management. So you can monitor even up to like thousands of stores from headquarters, and that can represent a huge savings for your business. It can obviate the need for having to have security personnel at every single store at all times. And with this unified system, you're able to monitor your stores, your access control systems. It simplifies the process of investigating violations, but also ensures that statistics that you collect, the analytics, are accurate and consistent across all locations. And that can really help in making better decisions for guiding company growth.
Yeah, I think scale is super important, right? To be able to scale this to multiple locations. Retail is that vertical, and even hospitality as well is that vertical that has to take in those considerations, because they're dealing with thousands of locations or 100 locations, depending on the size of the company. But, typically that's extraordinarily important, being able to understand the exception sometimes versus the rule, because you want to be able to act on things. I spent 25 plus years in retail, and that was the number one question we always asked our vendors was how am I going to manage, thousands of locations? How will I know what to act on when I have so much data pouring into me? So those exceptions are really important to be able to see and understand.
Yeah, the other thing I would say, and I mentioned this when I first spoke, is once you have a compute and a video, it's unlimited what you can start to do. But the good thing is if you build your hardware up front, you can manage, because you can keep uploading software or updating software on it. So the functionality that you have today is going to be less than the functionality you have tomorrow. You might be focused on loss prevention or shrinkage today, but it may be physical security at some point in the future. Say it's a convenience store. We're seeing people like, hey, I want to do weapons detection. Analytics on a camera could do that, that type of thing. Those are all done. You can do, car theft detection in the parking lot, all these different things. It's just uploading software. And if you have that hardware infrastructure in place from the beginning, you can just keep adding functionalities as needed.
Well, I think that's a good mention, Chris, because that's a lot of our retailers we're seeing is moving to microservices and containerization for their applications, so they can do those kinds of things, right? And using applications like Kubernetes so that they can move those workloads wherever they need. And David hit on the fact that this can use a CPU, which most applications in a retail space use CPU. And when you're trying to use a video, sometimes a GPU is introduced, but I think that's where Intel can really provide value. And folks like AxxonSoft is, do you really need that GPU? Can you utilize that CPU with optimization like OpenVINO and other software tools? Most people don't know that Intel has over 30,000 developers actually working on the software layer in order to optimize the hardware layer. So it's partners like AxxonSoft that use these kinds of tools in order to optimize and lower the BOM costs when you're trying to implement different solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing from Intel that not everyone knows about also is the like video specific cards, which they're not the same thing as GPUs, but maybe some people have heard of them. That if you have like Movidius videos dedicated cards, those can be really useful for the kinds of situations where maybe you have dozens of cameras. You have 30, 40, 50, 60, hundreds of cameras running complex analytics like facial recognition or license plate recognition, which I'll touch on maybe later. And if you're running all of those, and then maybe you're streaming a bunch of camera views, again, maybe you have 60 cameras that are being displayed on a single screen. That sort of thing can really help with that as well.
We were seeing license plate analytics used for just understanding who your most important customers are, or just counting cars, just like you do counting people, right? How many people are about to enter into my parking lot? Do I need to okay, man up everyone, we've got 50 customers coming in the store, we got to get ready. We can look at a lot of these things as gamification for our associates and provide a very unique experience because, going back to that labor challenge, an associate's experience is just as important as a customer's experience. So thinking about that way that they can engage with the customer and be prepared, right? Anyone and everyone wants to be prepared for their day and understand what they're up against so that they can meet whatever that challenge is with the most tools that they can have. And I think, I'm looking at the time a little bit, but from our audience, if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free at any time. We'd love more interaction. We don't have to just sit here and talk about things. We'd love to hear some of your challenges and the things that you're seeing in your environment. If we can answer them, we certainly will. If not, we'll perhaps follow up. But throw in some questions. Love to hear what the audience is thinking.
Yeah, I'm with Kristen on this. We actually learn most of our use cases from customers. You're living and breathing this experience every day. We understand the technology, but all the use cases come from people we speak to. And until we get one, the car counting and things like that, we've seen as a big use case lately, in particular like QSRs and even convenience stores now, where it used to be that, you would, as soon as a person started the ordering process at a drive-through, they would click a timer and say, how long did it take? Now they're saying, when did somebody actually pull up? And it's how long did it take them before they pulled up, before they were able to order, and then how long from the time they ordered till they get their food, things like that to drive the experience. So that's been a use case for the car counting and things like that. That's been pretty prevalent. Curbside pickup, just flagging when people pull up to a curbside pickup to let you know what's happened. Kind of a new COVID type thing, but we've seen it for that too. So there's been a lot of requests for that type of feature.
Yep, I think that goes back to removing friction, right? Yes, I can drive up to do a curbside pickup. I can pick up my phone. I can text somebody. Absolutely, not something that I can't do, but I get a better experience if I'm driving into the parking lot and I get notified. Oh, we see that you're in slot number 3. Wait a minute, we're gonna send somebody out with your order because we see your license plate. You've told us that you can identify you, and now we have information about our customer. Those are taking the next level, right? I mean, every retailer is trying to figure out how can I do it better than the last retailer, and these are the kinds of things to think about that can level up the experience for the customer, and that's why they want to come back over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. With these analytics, there's huge opportunity for personalization towards the customer and making a unique experience for them that makes them want to come back. So I mentioned LPR earlier, and you monitor a parking lot with that, and the usual use case that people talk about is there's some kind of an offender, and we want to know okay, this person is maybe a shoplifter, and we want to watch out for them when they pull up in the parking lot. But the alternative usage for that also is maybe you have a VIP customer who comes regularly, and you want to help them extra because they're a loyal customer, and you want to give them, let's say it's like a grocery store, and maybe they usually put a lot of stuff in their cart, and you want to help them out at the cashier stand because it can be a lot of stuff in the cart, for example. Well, that's possible with LPR. You could say, okay, they're pulling in, and they're probably going to get a lot of stuff this time. So let's get some more people to help them out and make it more frictionless, and everyone's more satisfied. The cashiers are going to be less under pressure because they're giving this forewarning. Okay, we can get ready for this, and of course the customer experience is going to be more frictionless. And like I said, it can be personalized down to a customer level, to the individual. It can really make a store work better for individuals.
So I don't see any questions coming up, but maybe we want to be respectful of our audience's time. Maybe we could do some quick wrap-ups and make sure that we said everything we want to say about the solution. Anything that we think we've missed, but we want to be very respectful of people's time. Are there any questions that anyone wants to pop in?
Yeah, no questions. We're not gonna bite you or make fun of your question.
We've answered all of them. Everyone is crystal clear. Everyone knows exactly what they want to go do. I would say that if it's something that's on a roadmap item, we'd love to hear any ideas there. Oh, it looks like David has asked a question. It says, any access control integration? I think you mentioned some of that, David, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. I'm really glad you asked that. So we have a lot of different analytics that will trigger a certain detection flag. So it can be a certain license plate is recognized, certain person's face is recognized. Maybe it's a certain line that was crossed, or we can even do things like there's X amount of people in a certain region. Maybe there's like more than 10 cars in the parking lot, or more than like X people within a certain region of the store. So these are all different flags that we could, for example, trigger and then link them to some kind of access control. Like I mentioned earlier, there's the use case of we want to watch out for shoplifters. Maybe it's an area where we're more prone to theft or something like that. You could even have it like you could have the system automatically like shut a barrier or something if we detect a car that has a license plate of a known bad actor, for example. So that's just one example of the different integration that we can have. If your access control uses like a web interface, you can even put like a web board in the layouts of the cameras. There's like different like camera panels, and you can even make one just like a web like interface that you can interact with. So that sort of thing is seamless and really easy to use. I hope that covers the question. Maybe there's some aspects that I missed. But.
Awesome. Well, Chris, any final thoughts for you? I mean, this has there's a lot of things to cover here.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I can't emphasize, this is a hot area. We're with it, every single customer is looking into this. The key thing to note, I'll put the pressure on AxxonSoft here, is once you add software and compute to video, there's a lot of use cases that pop up. And it's not just security use cases. There's a lot of operational insights. How do I make the experience better for customers? It's not just security. So think about that. It's really only limited by your imagination and the amount of coding that David and his team can do to offer those services. But there's a heck of a lot of things that can be done once you do that, more than you can imagine. So it's exciting and fun to be there.
Absolutely. Like Chris mentioned earlier, we could spend a whole hour just talking about different use cases and cover all the different things that we can do. Like you mentioned earlier, we have a very sophisticated posture detection system, for example, that can detect people's arms and legs. And the things you can do with that are just incredible. You can detect if someone is falling down and has a medical emergency in your store and react to that right away, get them the help they need instantly. You can detect if people are bending over to pick up a heavy box. So maybe you don't want your employees hurting their backs and throwing out their discs by lifting up heavy boxes. So you can see that and say, hey, let's make sure that we're lifting with our legs, not with our back, or even like hands up detection, like a detection in like an active shooter event. That's a really big concern for people right now, is that aspect of safety. So being able to react to that immediately, to be able to tell if someone's doing something odd, if someone's like crouching in front of the ATM, maybe they're like tampering with it. Or I know this isn't quite as relevant anymore, but in the future, if we have more pandemic sort of pandemic type events which require us to do those retail changes. There's all sorts of things that can aid with that. There's mask detection. You can tell if someone's wearing a mask or not automatically, or enforce occupancy limits. Instead of having to have someone stand in front of your store and count, oh, here's how many people are going in and out, you can use things like visitor counting to automatically tell at all times how many people are in your store. So the possibilities with these analytics are endless in improving both safety and security, and making sure the experience is frictionless and easy for consumers, and reducing workload and increasing efficiency and the ease for the staff as well, making the staff's lives easier as well, because of course we want to improve the retention of that, and we don't want the staff to be frustrated doing what they're doing. Another great question: how do you deal with laws limiting face recognition use? I'm really glad you asked that as well. So certain states like California have privacy acts where you can't record the face or whatever. So we have lots of systems in place for making sure that you're always compliant with that. Be it if you need to block out people's faces on the footage, put like a black box around them, blurring out certain regions. If you have to have a certain region of the footage blacked out, or you cover an entire vehicle with a black box, all that is possible in order to make sure that you're complying with your local laws and not recording something that you're not supposed to be.
Yeah, and just to let you know, in most cases, in very rare instances, do you even need facial recognition? I mean, it's audience detection is what we often will say. It's demographic information. And then, most of these software solutions like an AxxonSoft, they actually build these with privacy in mind. So if they can do edge analytics, and the image of a person never ever makes it to the cloud. So if you're following European GDPR laws, if you do audience detection, the image of that person can never reach the cloud. So either you just say no image and just say male, female, this age group was there. That's all. You send metadata, so none of that privacy stuff is ever sent to the cloud. So the actual use cases for facial recognition is limited, and it's designed in such a manner to face all of those laws. Most people follow the GDPR laws. Asia is slightly less than that, but typically people follow the European privacy laws, which are pretty solid.
Yep. I think one of the biggest messages that I'd want to leave with the audience is we've spoke a lot about use cases, and use cases come from the business side, right? Yeah, we have technology, that this is a technology conversation, but without those business use cases and understanding where the business wants to spend, what's the return on investment? Why do they want to do these kinds of things? The value of the analytics, those are all part of the business. And it's really important for the technology side, of the business, and the business side to be able to come together and understand how these solutions can come together. And that's sometimes can be challenging inside of organizations, depending on how they're structured. But it's worth it. It's when you can come together and figure out how to do all these different use cases and build your business to be better, and understand how friction can be removed for your customer experience. So a lot of use cases to think about. With that, we're about anything else other than that. Good conversation. Appreciate it, you guys.
Yeah, and that about wraps it up. I guess the main things that we really want to share are the components being, there's the unified security platform. It provides you with real-time information about what's happening in the store and across all the departments, while also allowing for human intervention when necessary. So this, this information and analysis can be customized to your business needs. And the other portion of this technology is the cloud-based portion of the solution. Again, it's up to you whether you want to have it on-prem, how much of it you want to have on-prem, how much of it you want to have on the cloud, and how much you want to have in terms of edge analytics. So that's customizable, and it can be easily designed to fit your needs in terms of exactly how you want to deploy the system. So together, by combining these technologies, it can really benefit the bottom line of your business by investing in these different aspects, because there's so many different areas that can be improved and affected by this for the customers, in terms of frictionless, in terms of the staff, in terms of efficiency, and the overall security of the store as well.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we hope everyone has an amazing day. Thanks for tuning in to hear our conversation about all the different use cases. Thank you, AxxonSoft, for inviting Intel to come and talk about some of the things that we love to talk about. And we'd love to hear more use cases if we missed any, and love to hear from everyone that has joined us and who may be listening to this recording.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, everyone in the audience. Thank you, everyone from Intel, Kristen, Christopher. Thanks for the great discussion and the back and forth and the questions and the topics. I think we really got to cover a lot and many different aspects of it.
All right. Well, thank you. Have a great remainder of your day, everybody.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.